Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with our first updated complete guide of patch 5.0, and that's gonna be on Nilah or Nilah, depending on how you want to say it. But yeah, we decided to go for her. Of course, she's one of the most unique kind of ADCs to play, and honestly, there are not too many Nilah players because she's pretty much like a melee carry, and it's not really like an ADC. But I do enjoy playing her quite a bit, and of course, when the new patch released, I did, of course, give her a shot. And basically, the new build just involves going for shield bow earlier, because I do think that the shield bow gives you a lot of value with the shield ever since it was buffed quite a number of batches ago at this point. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of the build, of course, don't forget to check out Nilah's basic guide for her skills, leveling order, tips and tricks, as well as a couple of combos. But with all that said, let's now jump into talking about her items, runes, and spells. So for her items, of course, you want to start off with the Gluttonous Greaves. Gives you the initial injection of AD as well as the Omni Vamp. And then, as I mentioned, you want to go for Shield Bow as your first item. Now, it gives you a decent stat line, of course, for the AD, crit, a little bit of attack speed, and physical vamp. All just decent stats all around. Nothing amazing on any of the stats, but, you know, nothing too underwhelming either. But the main reason you're getting it is the Lifeline passive, which, of course, is going to give you a shield that is going to be 300 plus 3 per 1%. Crit rate, and of course, since this item itself gives you 25% crit rate, this base amount is actually going to be 375 if you do the math. So 375 shield in the early game is really decent, blocks a lot of damage, and especially because you're a melee champion that goes in, that extra shield is really helpful. And then of course we go into Bloodthirster, which in my opinion is still a really strong item. 50 AD, ton of it. 12% physical vamp, also a ton, and of course a little bit of bonus stats when you are above half HP. Then of course, going to a crit build, you want to get your IE for the increased crit damage, as well as of course more AD, and you want to top it off of course with the Maul Reminder to get your armor pen, grievous wounds, as well as of course bring yourself up to 100% crit. And for a final item, you have a lot of options. Now, of course, one of the most popular options is going to be Guardian Angel, which of course is going to give you AD, armor, and the revive most importantly. And it's pretty much the default option you want to go for. However, if you know there are certain circumstances that you want to go for other options. Now, if you're in a scenario where you're against heavy AP, Spirit Visage is your best option. Gives you health, gives you of course the magic resist, but most importantly increases your healing and shielding effect by 30%, which of course in your build you have a lot of. So this is gonna help you to lifesteal a lot more and get a lot more shielding, so this is going to be a really great option. And if you're playing to like a full AD team, then Death's Dance is going to be the way to go. Gives you armor and of course that passive that's going to basically delay 35% of the physical damage that you take, and of course you can get takedowns to restore health and to cleanse yourself of that cauterize damage over time. And of course, since Nilah is a melee champion, this actually is going to give you the full effect compared to other ADCs. And if you're in a situation where, you know, you're against both types of damage and you are able to survive, you're not getting one shot, like, so you don't need GA for the revive, you're not getting one shot, and you're getting into long fights, Twin Guard is going to be the way to go, because it's going to give you both defenses as well as, of course, just making yourself super duper tanky. Is really good in certain situations. And finally, I have never actually gone for this before, but if you're in a situation where you get one shot constantly, then Crown is actually going to be really good to just block you know, the damage, or rather block the first attack, I guess you could say. So now for the runes is where it gets a little bit interesting. So we're going to actually go for First Strike as our rune instead of going for Conquer. Now I found this really interesting, that this was pretty much the rune taken by all of the top Nilahs. But you know, as a Nilah player myself, I can completely get it, because Conquer, it takes like 6 attacks to stack. And honestly, in Wild Rift, Nilah is a lot more of a burst focused champion rather than a like you know, long DPS focused champion. Now don't get me wrong, especially when you get to like 3 items and get your first 3 items, you're not only going to do a lot of burst, but your DPS is also going to be insane. But honestly, I do think that Nilah's burst in Wild Rift is way better than her sustained damage. So I do think going for First Strike makes a lot of sense, because you can just hop in there, one-shot someone, and just jump back out. And then you can do more DPS if you need to, just that you don't have Conqueror. So I do think First Strike is the best rune you can go for Nilah at the moment. Of course, Conqueror is still pretty good as well. Of course, Brutal, because you auto attack a decent amount as a ADC. But honestly, you could also go for something like Triumph, because as I said, you know, you one-shot people a lot, so sometimes you don't actually auto attack all that much. Giant Slayer, of course, because it gives you the most damage for this rune slot. Alacrity for the attack speed, because we don't really have a lot of attack speed in our build. We do have 15% here and like 10% here, if of course we get above 50% health. And lastly, we want to go for second wind as our secondary tree, because of course we are a melee champion and you're gonna get bullied in the bot lane most of the time, so you do want to get the second wind to get the increased health regeneration to kind of stay as healthy as you can in lane itself. And finally, for the spells, you want to go for Flash, obviously, and you want to go for Exhaust. You're always going to be in exhaust range because you're melee, so there's never going to be an instance where you can't really reach someone to exhaust them, because either they're on top of you or you're on top of them. But with all that out the way, let's jump into our gameplay. Alright, so hopping into the gameplay, of course, as usual, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions, queries, remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll of course be sure to address them. So now, first things first, as usual, what I like to cover is which supports are good for Nilah. Now, honestly, both Engage and like Enchanter supports are both good for different reasons. Now, for Engage supports, it's really good to get Engage supports simply because if they engage for you, you don't have to really waste one of your dashes to get in range. You can sort of get the dash onto the enemy itself to get more damage. Whereas with Enchanters, you have a lot higher survivability because they can heal and shield you. So basically, both kind of works. So next, like elephant in the room to address is, I didn't really talk too much about this in the rune section, but First Strike. Now, you're going to immediately realize a huge problem with First Strike, which is that in lane, it's pretty much going to be a useless rune. Like you can see here, Sivir just removed my First Strike immediately, and this is pretty much going to be happening permanently simply because, again, you're a melee champion. So there's very little chance you can actually proc your First Strike in lane, without the enemy removing it from you first, because they're ranged, and if you get anywhere near them to try to get a trade-off, they're going to immediately auto-attack you and remove your First Strike before you actually reach them. So First Strike is a lot more of a like mid to late game kind of deal, or even in lane could be the case if you ever have an opportunity to go in with First Strike, but you shouldn't stress too much about not having your First Strike up, because it's pretty much going to be removed like more often than not. Like I'd say like 90% of the time your First Strike is going to be removed and you're not going to be able to proc it. So it's going to feel like you have no rune for a lot of your laning phase. But even so, like I said, like even if you have Conqueror and laning phase, you're not very likely to get into a very long fight. So here you can see I have my First Strike up. So I'm actually going in for a very quick trade. And I also, of course, have my W to dodge all of her Sivir's attacks. So you can see I managed to basically half health the Sivir while basically taking no damage myself. So one very important skill to learn on Nilah is when to go in and when not to go in, especially in lane. So you want to generally play very passively and just let them push. You're going to lose like some minions here and there. That's kind of unavoidable. But there's not too much you can really do about that. You just want to play safe, get minions whenever you can, and of course you can get a little bit of damage on the enemy champions whenever you can. And then when you find an opportunity, you can go in, go for kills, or go in and go for a good trade like what I did there. Obviously, I knew I wasn't going to kill Sivir, but I knew I was going to get a pretty good trade here. Karma gets caught, so obviously we're going to go in there, force her flash, and we're pretty much doing really, really well in the lane despite, again, being melee. So really with Nilah, it's a lot about your own skill, about how good you are in the lane, and that kind of determines, of course, how the laning phase goes. Now, of course, if you're playing against an equally good lane opponent, that's, of course, going to be an issue, simply because they're going to know how to abuse your range, and this kind of depends on your opponent's skill. So here you can see the Sivir and Karma, they're not very good at abusing me pretty much at all. Like, if I was playing against Nilah, I'll be playing a lot more aggressively. I'll be trying to zone her off the wave. I'll be trying to get poke off at any available opportunity. But you can see that Sivir is pretty happy to just push the wave in, and Karma is like just roaming constantly for some reason. So you can actually see that in all of this, I actually have a 300 gold lead against the Sivir at the moment. Nami has a 200 gold lead against the Karma, and despite basically doing nothing except farming well, we're actually creating a decent lead. So because in this particular match, my my opponents are not really that good, so we can do these sort of things and get advantages in lane. In a matchup where your opponents are actually good, the situation is going to be reversed. So you're going to be the one with a gold deficit, and they're going to be the one with a gold lead, and that's very common as Nilah. You don't really have to worry too much about that at all. Of course, you just wait for mid-game or wait for a fight at Dragon or Herald, wait for an opportunity. Speaking of opportunity, here Nami goes in. I'm able to dash out of Karma ultimate, get off the two-man Nilah ultimate, and kill Sivir. I flash for the Karma. I finally am able to finish her off, but I end up committing my dash to try to get her because I thought that she wasn't dead, and I nearly end up dying to the tower, but it does end up working out, and I pick up 2 quick kills in the lane. So here is that opportunity that I'm talking about. Most of the time as Nilah, you're gonna get pushed in whether the opponents are good or not, simply because you're melee. So even bad opponents are gonna attack you if you walk up to the wave. So generally, you're gonna let them push in. And a lot of the times, this makes them very, very vulnerable to an all-in from you or to a gank from your jungler, or both even. So you can see here that's exactly what happened. They were very far, near our tower, and they actually both just died to Nami's ult plus my ult. They got chain CC'd and they got they took way too much damage, and they just basically ended up dying. So Karma nearly getting caught out again. We're attacking the ward over the wall, of course, with the enhanced range here. And yeah, so you can see that Karma is finally starting to actually poke us well. So you can see we're starting to take quite a bit of damage. Of course, the second win is going to come in handy here to kind of restore the health we lost off of the poke, which is the general idea of why we're taking second win here. So here you can see Karma, really hurts. Like one Q does like 1/3 of my health. Of course, the empowered version of the Q. And so here, my Lee Sin is actually going for Herald, and I'm going to assume that the Tryndamere is on the dragon. Because obviously we saw Karma rotating there, and Nami's actually face checking, and we can see that the dragon is being done. Obviously without our jungler, not too much we can do here. We're just going to trade Herald for dragon, and Herald is way better than dragon, of course, because it injects your team with a lot of extra gold, and you can get more map control with one less tower if you use the Herald to take down a tower. Now you can see that our team is not doing too hot. Aatrox 0-3, Aurelion Sol 0-2, and Lee Sin is actually doing alright. He's 2-0, same as me. So, the gold in terms of overall, we're only slightly in the lead because we have a couple lanes not doing too hot. And of course, this means conversely, Warwick and Yone are fed, which is of course the lane opponents of Aatrox and Aurelion Sol. So yeah, this is of course the reworked Aurelion Sol. Which obviously is going to make him a lot stronger in the late game, but as of now in the early game, he's kind of just hard feeding. So yeah, so now we're able to actually complete our shield bow, so we have our first 2 items now, and we're in pretty good shape, especially in this particular lane matchup, where of course we have a pretty decent lead, and Sivir and Karma can't really do too much to us except for poke. Now for some reason Warwick is here, coming from top lane. He's of course 3-0, so he's a lot bigger of a threat. He actually has almost the same gold as me, bigger threat compared to the two of them, especially with his ult that can just lock me down. And yeah, so if you guys notice, I actually picked Nilah into a team with a lot of auto attackers, because if you notice, aside from Sivir, who's obviously the ADC who's going to auto attack, Yone, Tryndamere, and even Warwick auto attack a lot as well. I love picking Nilah into these auto attack focused teams because your W just counters them so hard. Like when Yone jumps in on you and tries to auto attack you down, you pop your W, he can't do anything. Same goes with Tryndamere and Warwick to a certain extent, although Warwick generally engages with his ulti, which basically is going to mean that you're going to get locked down by his ultimate, so you're going to be kind of stuck in a situation where you're going to take a lot of damage. Now, I believe, I'm not sure if your W blocks Warwick's ultimate damage. I don't believe so, but maybe it could, not too sure. But either way, Warwick kind of partially countered by you, because he kind of does want to run at you to, of course, attack you as well if he's not ulting you, so there is that. So here once again, we're back to the same old of just staying under our tower and getting, of course, getting the minions. And here, the two supports decide to just randomly launch ultimates that don't hit, at each other. Pretty funny situation here. But once again, we're just waiting under the tower. And of course, just farming the minion wave. Now, Yone is behind our entire team for some reason. He has a pretty huge shutdown. He's 4-1, so I'm headed over to collect that shutdown if I can. Tryndamere is now coming in for backup as well. He gets shoved away. We're going, of course, for the Yone. And unfortunately for us, the Aurelion Sol popping his Q manages to get the shutdown, and he's pretty useless. I'm going to flash onto the Sivir. My shield bow procs, and you can see that basically all of the damage was absorbed by my shield wall, so I'm still pretty healthy. Karma is now on the run. We're trying to chase her down, but I realize that there's no way we're catching her, so I'm going to go for mid lane instead, where there's a huge wave and also there's a chance to get the tower. So here, quickly clearing out the wave, and I'm going to focus down this tower that's at 200 HP. So here we do get the tower, but I get hit by the Karma ulti. I try to dash out of it. I get rooted instead, and Warwick is able to get out the beautiful Q through into the Fear combo and doesn't have to use his ult, which allows him to then pop the ult onto Nami, who obviously can't do anything because she's suppressed, and we both end up dying, unfortunately, so that did not work out too well. We did, however, manage to get the tower, so that was, that was, at least a silver lining out of the situation. So once again, Aurelion now 1-4, Aatrox now 0-4-0, completely no kill participation, just deaths. Not what you want to see from your teammates. And Lee Sin now copping a couple of deaths as well, so we're really struggling to stay in the game at this point. The enemy team has now grabbed the goal lead for themselves. Of course, we have a super fed Warwick, a super fed Yone as well, and now Sivir and Tryndamere are starting to, get a couple of, start to get a bunch of gold as well. So here I was trying to help I was considering helping my team, but I realized that, I have a useless Aatrox, he's not going to contribute anything. Lee Sin clearly wants to leave as well, so he's not going to contribute anything. He decides to go shopping in the middle of the lane, I believe, and just dies as well. So here I'm trying to clear out the wave. Warwick tries to go in, I exhaust him, I ult him, and we basically chain CC him. Unfortunately, once again, my shutdown gets taken away, so I don't get the shutdown on Yone, and I didn't get the shutdown onto the Warwick either because Nami accidentally took that kill. So unfortunately, we're not getting the shutdowns, and we're not getting the huge injections of gold that we need to, of course, try to get the items to carry our team. Aurelion Sol goes in and actually kills the Sivir because Sivir was pretty low HP. We're gonna back. We got our Bloodthirster, which of course is a pretty huge power spike for us. Of course, we have a ton of lifesteal. First 3 items, all lifesteal items. You also have passive lifesteal coming off of your Q passive, so of course huge amounts of lifesteal coming in for the Nilah. And well, we're just headed over, just gonna farm waves. Of course, most consistent way to get fed is of course to farm waves, farm jungle monsters whenever you can. Now here I wanted to go for the tower, but I see Tryndamere, so I'm just gonna back off. Don't really want to fight Tryndamere. Tryndamere is really hard to kill when he has his ultimate. Of course, 5 seconds of not being able to die is pretty annoying to play against, to say the least. So instead, I'm just going to move on to farming the Gromp while he is busy pushing in. Now here I'm going back to farming the wave. Now I thought that he actually left, but it turns out he was going to the Gromp area and now he's onto me. I pop my W to try to block some of his damage, which I do block his damage, but the issue here is that he still basically kills me even so. I try to even pop my ulti to try to survive, get the lifesteal from the ulti, but it doesn't work out. And he even flashes into the wall here, which kind of just shows that he's not even that good. Lee Sin obviously gets the kill on him, and yeah, so we do end up dying to the Tryndamere, unfortunately, which wasn't very good. I didn't know I couldn't fight him, which was why I was actively trying to avoid fighting him when we were trying to push down his tower. Objective bounties are now coming up, obviously because now my team is really far behind. Not really, but 3k gold behind, decent amount behind, I guess you could say. And now we're just playing the defense game where we're just trying to protect our towers and trying to just not let them get kills and stuff. So Warwick jumps in crazily into the in-between 2 towers, flashes under the tower. I'm trying to go for the Warwick. Warwick is pretty much just getting caught out. We are able to get the kill onto the Warwick, and now we're trying to get more kills, get the Karma, trying to get the Yone as well. Yone is running away with 1 HP. We're gonna flash forward and of course pop the EQ combo to finish him off. And now with 4 members dead and only Tryndamere alive, now it's time for Baron. So I'm picking for Baron. I need my team to come over. And thankfully Lee Sin has got the message. The 1-6 Aatrox not quite gotten the message though. I don't know what he's really doing. Or I do know what he's doing, but I don't know why. He's trying to push down mid, but that's not going to achieve too much. Baron's more important. So here Tryndamere is trying to go on a one-man journey to try to steal the Baron. Fortunately for us, we were able to pop the W so we don't actually take a lot of damage from it, and we're actually able to auto-attack him down. Aatrox now comes over and tries to kill him. And now the enemy team is respawned. So here I actually get suppressed by Warwick, I'm getting rooted by Karma, and I'm just getting chain CC'd here. Shield Bow is popping and pretty much saves my life here. And I'm deciding, I initially was thinking of going back in, but I'm deciding that, we got the Baron, we got what we wanted, let's just get out. And I'm lifestealing off of the Raptors in the meantime, but my Lee Sin and Aurelion Sol are trying to take the Raptors, so I can't lifesteal off of them. Anyways, we back and we get the components for our IE. Of course, just less than 900 gold away from IE, which at 3 items, Nilah is going to be completely busted. She's really a champion that spikes very hard on 3 items. She can start one-shotting people and at the same time do a lot of DPS, so she becomes really insane when you hit 3 items. Now, Aurelion Sol just getting whacked by the enemy team. In the meanwhile, yeah, Aurelion Sol and Aatrox still feeding. They both pretty much have just less gold than the entire enemy team, except for Karma, who's their support. And yeah, you can see me and Lee Sin are doing pretty well. We're both pretty fed, and we're trying our best to carry the team. While on the other side, it's going to be Yone and Warwick trying to do the same. Really kind of competitive game here. Enemy team was really winning, and then they made a mistake. They're trying to commit onto the mid lane tower. Nami ulti goes in, I'm dashing in, popping the ulti onto 4, and I managed to basically one-shot the Sivir. I do get rooted though. I pop the W to immune a few auto attacks, which actually saves my life. Without the W there, I would have just died. So yeah, I quickly run back to base to get health. I also grab the IE while I'm at it, and now I'm running straight down mid to try to see what we can do. Aurelion Sol is actually split pushing the top lane tower, which is not too bad because they're actually distracting the enemy team. So me and Lee Sin are actually going for the dragon to deny the Infernal Soul. Of course, out of all the dragons, Infernal Soul is probably the best soul you can get, although it's still not amazing win condition. But here you can see I'm blocking all of Tryndamere's attacks. I'm trying to finish him off, which I do, and this basically guarantees us the dragon. Aurelion Sol is still split pushing. He's now on the inhib, so we're able to actually pick up the dragon. Yone tries to fight us. And yeah, I'm waiting for him to go back to his ghost, and we do manage to finish him off. And we do also successfully deny the Dragon Soul. Aurelion, obviously on his way out, is going to die, but not too important at this point, in all honesty, because yeah, it doesn't really matter. He wasn't doing too much anyways. At least by doing that split push play, he actually managed to distract the enemy team, which honestly was pretty much the best he could do considering he's like a 2 and 8 Aurelion, so he's not really going to do any very much damage at this point. So here I spot the enemy wolves. I'm just lifestealing off of the wolves, back to full health. Helping Lee Sin to grab the blue buff. Yeah, and we kind of refresh our blue buff as well. And now we're just going to back, and I'm gonna probably pick up Boot Enchant maybe, because Warwick ulti could be what kills me. Yeah, we do actually get Boot Enchant, because we're a little bit afraid of Warwick ulti, or maybe even Yone ulti. Like if he channels the ulti and I don't flash out, I can actually pop the QSS to at least not get knocked up. So here I'm trying to grab myself the Rit buff, and inexplicably the 2 and 8 Aurelion Sol, who's a mage, tries to steal my Rit buff, which blows my mind. But anyways, luckily he doesn't manage to steal it. So here I pop the W to make sure Nami can't die. For some reason, Yone hard commits onto Nami with the ult, with the flash and everything. He dies for it. Nami doesn't even die, but like that was super duper questionable. That was like a 3 item Yone trying to commit onto the enemy support instead of pretty much anyone else on the enemy team. Like probably should have gone for me or gone for Lee Sin. He decides to full commit onto the support and dies for it, which now puts his team in a position where they're at a numbers disadvantage, and they're kind of a little bit disorganized. So we're actually doing the Baron now. Of course, we do a ton of damage to the Baron with me and Aurelion Sol, a ton of DPS, and enemy team is oblivious. We are able to secure the Baron, and pretty much the whole complexion of the game has changed. Now we're actually in a 4k gold lead, and you know we're able to pick up two components of Amol Reminder, and we're just clearing waves now. Enemy team has been trying to push them in, which does of course make sense, and now the Elder Dragon is coming up, or like it basically has just come up, and obviously that's where the next fight is going to be. Karma is on the completely wrong side of the map, so we know we're going to be at a numbers advantage. She's going to take some time to get here, and we're just going to start up the Elder Dragon, try to bait the enemy team in for a fight, and see what we can do. Enemy team decides to actually commit to trying to end the game, so we're trying to rush down the Elder Dragon as fast as we can. Also at the same time grabbing Yone. We of course have Baron and Power Recalls. Warwick, pretty much his job was to stop us, but he gets scared of walking into all of us. And here I'm flashing forward to go for the Sivir. Sivir is able to run away. Tryndamere tries to go for the Nexus, but he has no minion, so he's not actually going to be able to do anything. Honestly, I shouldn't have been just attacking Tryndamere, who was clearly already dead. I should have probably just moved out into mid lane and see if I could, you know, do anything at mid lane. But anyways, Arenal Soul dies to Warwick. A fight breaks out in our jungle, and honestly at this point I don't quite care. I'm trying to go for the win, so I'm just gonna go and push in the waves while my team is chasing kills. And we are able to get that wave. Silver getting chased down by Lee Sin, gets hit by the Sonic Wave Resonating Strike, and does end up going down. And the whole enemy team is now dead. Yone is going to revive momentarily, so we're going to quickly grab the inhib tower, and we're going to quickly grab the base itself and get the dub. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching, and goodbye.